Hey, Sheng.
Hi.
Sheng Elizabeth Lor.
Yes. Or Hmong Lao.
Or Hmong Lao.
Hmong Lao, baby.
Yeah. Like I said, where the area where I grew up, the Hmong Laos were the bad boys.
We were the OGs.
The bad boys. Hey, I think we come full circle because 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Is it 4?
It was like 3
5?
years ago. You were one of my very first guests
Yeah.
on my episode or on my podcast.
Yes, because you have a podcast called
The
called
Social
or calls,
Exchange
is it called?
Project. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Social Exchange Project.
Yeah.
It was in this really cool studio. I feel like you were one of the first OGs who had like people in your studio, and then you had like other friends in there because I think Penny, right, was there too.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I watched a bunch of little episodes or some episodes of your podcast. I remember before I came on, and sometimes you would just have a few of your girlfriends there, and you guys all sit around talk, which like it's like the cool thing now where everyone's doing, but it's like you were the very first in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I actually, when I first started, I didn't really know exactly how I wanted the show to go. I knew I wanted it to be fun, and I knew that I wanted it to be a learning experience. Like through how I learn is through conversation, especially through people who have like very unique and dynamic lenses. I'm just like a very naturally curious person. So I knew that that was going to be an element of my show, but I didn't realize that it was going to grow into more of a platform than a show. And so like my show is obviously all about elevating marginalized communities in the arts and activism space. And so when I had asked you, I really thought 100% you were going to say no to me. Because I was a literal nobody back then.
What are you talking about?
You were like one of the first of like, you're like a big deal, okay?
Stop.
You are a big deal. Like, stop it, keep going.
Okay, no, I'm serious. I remember you asked, and I was like, oh shoot, I was like driving back from Wisconsin, central Wisconsin, from home, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna be driving through Eau Claire anyways. You know?
Yeah, and you were on time. Your car didn't die. You brought donuts.
Yeah, unlike somebody else here.
Just so everyone
today.
knows, my car died today, or my battery died like literally just an hour before we were filming, and so I was trying to figure it out, and I'm here.
Yeah, and I said, don't give me Hmong time. You know, don't do Hmong time.
I know.
But that's how I first met you. Right away, I was so blown away by not only your energy, but your determination, where it's like a lot of people, I think, would wait to be initiated into doing something like this, to saying, hey, go create a platform. It's totally different, I think, from finding a platform than like creating a platform. Creating a platform means you got to build that thing out. Yeah. And sometimes you got to like build it while you're standing on it, and it's like rink-a-dink sometimes.
Yeah, and it's trial and error too, to be honest, because who I was back then, I'm such a different person today. So like you met like a very I'm still very tenacious, but you met somebody during a phase where she was still really trying to figure it out, and I'm obviously a lot more confident in what I want to do now. But like even again, like having you on the show was, and I'm going to credit you for real. You're one of the very first people that not only said yes to coming on my show when I really wasn't fully developed in my goal with that platform, but you also like brought a lot of people to my platform to like understand what I was trying to do. I'm not even just saying this, but like I got a lot of views because of you, and a lot of awareness because of like you being on the show. And so thank you for making me today.
Stop it. Don't say that. I think your hustle makes you who you are today. I will admit that coming on was really fun, but then the other thing that I really enjoy is it's just like I know what that feels like. Like I do. Like I know what that feels like to like start with nothing. Yeah. And go say, hey, here's a corner. This is your little corner, and then making the most of it, and then be given, okay, now we're gonna make that corner a little bigger. Here's your other little corner, Yeah. And I get that, and I see that with any kind of startup, because like my heart kind of goes towards startups, or anybody starting anything, because I'm like I get that. Our first pop-up, it was literally like, so what are we gonna do now? Yeah. And it's like, well,
what was that like?
Our first pop-up?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm flipping the tables right now. I'm so used to interviewing people.
Yeah. Get back on your side.
I know. It's weird being on this side.
For what it was like for me was that I felt like I need to add permission because I'm so used to that, right? I think we're all used to that. Like just being Hmong kids growing up, like you always had to add permission. I don't know how it was in your house, but growing up as a Hmong kid, it was like, even if you were gonna go outside, like, oh, you was like, hey mom, like I'm gonna step outside. Okay. Or it's like, hey mom, we have the school project. I'm gonna stay late. Okay. It was always asking permission. So in my mind, that's what I always thought. Like I need permission. I need permission. I needed to be
Who are
initiated.
you asking permission from?
For the pop-up?
Yeah, or just in general. Who are you typically?
Well, a lot of times it was mom and dad. It was just, growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
But I think that the one thing that I really like, was really hard for me was like in the food world. Like I feel like I needed to ask permission. I felt like there was these like, quote unquote like food leaders where it's like I had to go kiss the ring first before we can do this. Yeah. But I didn't know that you could just do it. And then we were very blessed at that time to have group food writers who followed along and said, hey, let me write about it. But
you were paying like respect though too, right? For people.
Yeah, I think that's like the Hmong side of me, right? Yeah. It's kind of like we respect our elders, like even though if there's sometimes we don't agree with them.
They paved the way for you. So you can't help but be like respectful of what they've done for you before you,
Yeah, I think that's why like when we first started, it was very quote unquote traditional Hmong food. And we were like trying to stick to like the Hmong village, model or in the Hmong town model is like, oh, we're going to do this food, but we're going to do it at this place. And I think that I flipped that, by flipping that going, no, but I want to do food that, like represents
who you are, right?
Well, yeah, I would even say our experience, And so when we got there, it was like then you had the two voices, right? You had the two sides, right? You have the old school hardliners who are like, well, that's not Hmong food.
Yeah.
And you had the other one who goes, well, that's not Mika food enough. Well, so I wasn't Hmong enough and I wasn't Mika enough. And so like in that space, I had to really realize like, okay, who am I asking permission from? That was the question is like, who am I asking permission from? Who am I waiting for to like, like initiate?
Like accept you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that was the the struggle. But right away in the beginning, it was like, oh, I can write a menu and I can price this any way I want. Like, oh, wow, okay. Like I didn't know what to do, know? Like that was just like, wow, there's it's like I got to an open field and it's like, well, I got to start building a gate, Okay, we got a gate now. Okay, let's get a fence, But like, how about you? Like you just like started the social exchange.
Like
boom.
I'm absorbing everything you're saying, by the way, because I can really connect with it.
Yeah.
Like even just growing up. So I am a daughter of two Hmong refugees, Jicha and Nali Lau, right? And they met in the refugee camp, and then I have three older Vinay.
Okay.
So I had three older siblings that were born on the camp. And then I was the first child born here in America. And then I have my younger brother. We both were born here. And so like growing up, this is like where I still am figuring this out, to be honest. But I grew up very super white. And I say that like because I didn't even realize that was where I was at. It's only been the last few years that I've been really diving in deeper with what that means to me and my my identity.
So what does that mean? You're like growing up super white, right?
So like my parents were super Catholic. They still are. And we never practiced shamanism. Like we know that's a huge part of our community, right? But we never really like identified with that religious practice. And we respect it. But we really were Catholic. So growing up, my parents actually put all of us in Catholic school. And so all of my friends were incredibly white, incredibly wealthy. And I just kind of had to, I feel like I kind of had to make a choice. I didn't know this as a child, but even my parents said, like for you to survive, you do have to learn English. You do need to obviously like know like your religious identity. And so the entire curriculum was very religion based. So I was the badass as us Hmong Lao people are. I asked my mom.
in our community, okay?
I know.
Bunch of,
but I'm not, I mean.
Your liner, that's what they call it. Yeah.
So when you said ask for permission, I don't ask for permission. No, I'm just kidding. But I did actually ask my mom. I was like, hey, I kind of want to explore more about just other people. Like 10th grade, I was able to go to public school and like finally had access to other peers that looked like me. Yes, there were Hmong, students at the parochial school too, at the Catholic school too, but I was like always so ashamed to speak in Hmong. Like my native tongue was very like challenging for me, you know? And then when I went to public school, it was the very first time in public where I was able to speak more of.
Because you're from Eau Claire, right?
Yeah. So I was born in Wausau,
Yep.
but I live in Eau Claire now. So I went to school in Wausau.
Okay. So, and which is a huge Hmong population in central
Yes.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so like, yeah, I guess where I was going with that is like, I always thought like, I'm never really ever going to be Hmong enough to be in the Hmong crowd, even though I could relate to them and could speak their language. But then I also felt like I was never really like American or white enough either.
Yeah, because you don't look like them.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, we weren't rich. We were like low income. And so there were a lot of aspects to and layers to my identity where I was still trying to figure out where I belonged, right? And like I said, I'm still kind of in that space.
Yeah.
Like it's only been the last few years as I've been growing more into social activism work and community like macro level work where I'm actually identifying, like I still kind of see the world sometimes through a really white lens. And so
What does that mean?
yeah, no. And again, you know, so like for instance, you know, when we're talking about equity work, we have to kind of first center ourselves and like be humble about the things that you don't know and that you have to acknowledge that you absolutely have bias within you. And so how I navigate through a lot of this through the years was I was always like wanting to solve the problem. Like I would like if there was an issue, I would be like, well, let's just do this, let's solve it, you know. And that's not how things should be. You really have to sit in it and like really learn about it and like really understand like that you're living in institutions that you were trained to kind of live in. And so now I feel like I'm talking on a different level, but
No, keep going. Keep going.
but it's very true. Like I'm used to like I think for instance that you work a Monday through Friday job, 9 to 5, and that is what your ultimate goal is. You have a good paying job, you get benefits. And again, that's not me saying that that's not the route you should go, but that's the route we're taught, right? So my parents always said, go get a college degree, work really hard, get an incredible career, get married, get a house, like all those milestones that you hit, right? And
do you think that's just a strictly white thing?
I don't know if I would say like strictly white, but those are the norms, right? And so like those are the norms that we identify as success or as like milestones that you do need to hit in order for you.
When you say we, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
When you say we, do you mean we as the Hmong
as
community?
Like the society, like the larger society. Yeah, and like even and then we adopt it as like in the Hmong community, right? Like we adopt that these are now like metrics of success, you know? And really what that is for me is that is one way of defining success, but you could also be somebody who doesn't go down that route. You can be an entrepreneur and like build your own table and then hope that people come sit at your table. You can honestly like going through a divorce, you know, that doesn't define who you are. You can honestly like go through life without having to actually achieve a college degree. And so when I say like that lens, it's because I do feel like that's what we were taught, that that's what our life should be. Right. So, yeah. And so I don't know if you have questions about.
No. I want to help.
It's a lot.
Yeah. No. It's not a lot. And I totally get it. Because that's how I was raised too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think that there's a part of me that I was raised like that. And so I looked at that and I kind of rejected it a little bit.
Yeah.
But now as I'm 38, so I'm hitting that, you know.
Oh, you told me your age. Thank you.
I know. I'm hitting that 40.
I asked his age earlier. He wouldn't tell me.
Yeah, I'm hitting that 40 almost. And one of the things that's been really just daunting on me, in a good way, when I use that word daunting, is this idea that, like, where was my father when he was my age? And, you know, right now, you know, and I that really daunts on me where it's like, man, by the time he was, let's say, you know, like, by the time he was like 32, 33, like he fought a war, you know, lived in the camps for 10 years, had most of us kids, you know, my brother was the youngest one who was born here in America, here in St. Paul actually, and then he brought us here. He worked and did all these things, and I found myself by the time I was, you know, like 28, 29, and I realized like, oh my gosh, like this is what Dad's life has been. This is what he's done. This is who he is as a man, and I myself am still trying to figure out myself and find myself. It really like lit this fire in my butt where I was just thinking to myself, going, oh man, like maybe my perspective is wrong, because I have such a privileged perspective compared to where they came from. So I understand why they want me to have a good college education. I understand why they want me to get a job. But I understand why they want me to be married. I understand why they want me to have kids and all that stuff. And I understand completely.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, this was like, because like this was like the right way or this. But what if I said like, that was the only way that they knew how to measure success, because they didn't have that.
Exactly.
And they want that. They want something more for their children. And I believe that every generation always wants something better for the next generation.
Yeah. And that's why we want to build like the best communities so that our children can thrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so like I think that sometimes it's easy to be like, well, this is how like the white community wants us to see ourselves, or this is how the white standard, right? Like, oh, this is like what it is, like success and da da da. I would even say, yeah, I get what people are saying when they say that, but I also say too is that our parents never had any of that.
Yeah.
And all they know is that is safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I understand why my parents say, hey, like it's time for you to settle and have kids. Not because they're like, oh, you're too crazy and we want to, tame you. Like, no, it's not that at all. It's kid means security. Like we don't have social security growing up. Like our parents don't have social security. Where there's security. Right. Like, in our culture, right? Where do our parents live? With us. Like you literally, almost every house has like a, mom and dad room, where like mom and dad can come over anytime. If mom and dad have money issues after they're retired, who takes care of it? The kids do. Yeah. Who takes care of everything is the kids. That's your security. Coming from war-torn suffering and pain, that's your security.
Yeah. Are your parents wanting you to get married right now? Is that?
That's a different kind of podcast.
Yeah, no.
No, I think that they always keep it in the forefront, and they ask me about it, and I'm the only one in my family that's not married and doesn't have any kids. I'm the only one. So and it's not, and I don't see it as a pressure thing. I've talked about this many times. I don't see it as like, you better get down and settle down. It's like, no, like my dad gets it, my mom gets it. They get like, hey man, you're busy, you're doing your thing, but we would just like to offer this out as but remind you that there's other.
You don't get lectures or pressured from your parents.
I do.
I love my parents, but my mom's a lecturer.
Oh yeah, I think every Hmong parents in their way is a lecturer. Like my dad goes off on these monologues, but he does it in a way where I find out that I'm like him sometimes, and I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Like when I do interviews and stuff like that,
you go on a soapbox.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am my father. But yeah, they're really like, they're not like, if you don't do this, it'll be a disappointment to us. They've never said that.
There's no shame in the parenting.
No,
that's really good.
But I think that as they get older, they do want to say, I want to give you all my wisdom, everything I've learned. Yeah. And if something was to happen to me, I know that I've said everything. Yeah. And like I gave you every tool and resource. And I totally get that. Yeah. And by that point, I go, yes, I sit and I listen. Because that's all they want. This is the time they want, is just to sit and listen to us. So would you say you're more like your dad than your mom? I'm definitely like 100% my mom. Really? Yeah. How? She's just a badass. Like, yeah, no, in our family, my mom runs the show. Yeah. And my dad is like the most calm, like easygoing, loving. Like my dad is just full of love and like the hardest worker. And then my mom is like the boss. Like she figures everything out. She's a problem solver and she's a doer, like a mover and shaker. Like that is my mom. And so she's just somebody that everyone respects, Yeah. So I just talked about myself in like the nicest way. But I feel like I'm much more like my mom. I just elbow myself into spaces, you know, without fear. It does not matter if it's like a male-dominated room or a male-dominated career or whatever it might be, like, or a space. I will elbow myself in. And my mom really taught me that too. Would you say that you, like, seeing your mom do that, did it give you the courage to do it? Or no, it did. Like there was sometimes when you go to Hmong parties and stuff,
And, my mom's usually the one that will speak her truth, like she'll be able to say to my uncles, like, if she feels like something's not quite right.
Or her brother-in-laws.
Yeah, brother-in-law. So it's like my dad's uncle or brothers. Yep. Yeah. Or like just other people. Like she's able to just speak her truth and be unapologetic about it. And, sometimes we don't see that in all the spaces, traditionally speaking. And so like my mom's just really taught me that, like, be fearless, and, it's okay that, people judge you, because people are going to judge you regardless. So really follow your heart and like have that drive and that light, and my mom's giving me that. And then of course my dad just gives me like the humility piece, like work hard, because like you may not always have this, and you need to earn every dollar that you have, and so it's just a good balance between my parents. But yes, they do lecture me. My mom definitely lectures me.
I think that every Hmong parent, especially when they're hitting that 60, 70, where where they see that, hey, how do we, I always say, how do they echo in eternity? It's going to be through us. Yeah, that's the echo. We're their echo, and to make sure that they give, to be able to download their wisdom to us. I think that's where these quote unquote lectures come in. But I've learned to really love them in a way of seeing through them. So I went to college as communication, I was a communication dude in college. So my biggest thing is always like, interpretation versus intention. Yeah. And so I always think about, okay, what is the intention of the message they're trying to send, and how do I interpret it? And so every time they say something, or every time, my dad does this sigh before he talks to me. He just like, and I'm like, oh, okay, here it comes. And he'll go. What
does that sigh mean usually?
Kind of like I'm preparing, like I have a speech prepared for you. I have something I want to talk to you about. And he keeps it pretty simple, but when we were kids, he was more longer about it, but now he keeps it pretty simple. And it's, the same things, same topic, but I really see the urgency in some of the things they talk about, I think my mom is a constant.
Your mom is so cute.
Oh, she's
adorable.
Yeah, she is adorable. She likes to remind me of who I am. Okay, so for example, okay.
Tell me more.
Yeah. It's like therapy. It's like we're each other's therapists.
Yeah, exactly.
Explain that.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Hold on. No. I remember. You know how the Hmong gossip world is just.
What? We do that?
Yeah.
That's a world that we live in?
I call it Hmong Facebook sometimes.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to talk more about your new job, or helping running Hmong American.
Hmong American. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I call that the Hmong Facebook, by the way.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, dude, it's like Black Twitter, but that's Hmong Facebook. You know?
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of like the news. Like, you want to know what's currently going on. Like,
you want to know about pop culture and activism work and success in our community.
Yeah. I don't want to call it TMZ, because TMZ is more gossip.
No. Yeah, we don't do any gossip. We absolutely do not do any kind of pyramid, selling at Facebook.
Yeah, like no
we really focus
oils,
on
candles,
we focus on like successful people like you. Like, we share your stuff all the time, because you are breaking barriers. Like, you are out here.
Yeah, and then you guys go on with Miss Universe Laos. Suni Lee's on there a lot, and all the things she's doing, and so
it's stuff. Like influential people, and you are one of them. Like, influential people in our community that are doing like that is doing really powerful things. And why are you smiling?
I'm smiling because
you are influential.
Well, no. I'm smiling for this reason, is because on Hmong American Experience, the trolls come out.
Yeah.
They come out hard.
They're everywhere, though.
They come out hard, dude. And I'm always like, especially if it's something we're doing, I always go, oh, I shouldn't read this, but it's like picking a scab.
What do they say? Do you want to repeat this? Do we even want to give them airtime?
No, it's not them giving them airtime, but we know that the trolls come. Oh, we get the same stuff all the time.
I get like not very nice comments sometimes in my inbox, but I just
really?
Yeah, all the time.
Awesome.
I get a lot of criticism all the time. Like, I'm not doing enough for the Hmong community.
Oh, really? Like for working with that page.
Just in my platform as well. Like, I mean, I get a lot of criticism. So this is separate from Hmong American Experience, because obviously there's a huge following with Hmong American Experience. So I would say that, trolls exist everywhere. But like, I'll get a lot of criticism too. Sometimes they're fair criticism, to be honest. Like, I humble myself and I'm like, am I actually coming at this from a a correct lens, a perspective. Am I educated enough about this to talk about it? And then sometimes it's just straight up like, you're not doing enough for the Hmong community. And then I have to sit here and like really do that internal work where what does that mean actually? Like, where do I identify in my community, right? And so I represent, and when I say represent, I really am out here working with different marginalized groups, and I'm very intentional about the Hmong community, the best that I can. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, I also have other goals and missions that are larger community initiatives, and that it's not always just going to be centered around Hmong people or Hmong women or any of the other intersectionalities that I have in my identity. And sometimes I'll get criticized for those things too, but I just have to remind myself, like, I can't be everything. I can only be like authentically myself. And if I'm doing my work, I'm doing my internal work, and I really know who I am, like, that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
So for the listeners, it's a Facebook page. You know, it's Hmong American Experience, and the creator is
Sheng.
Sheng, yeah.
Yeah, he's a lecturer out of California.
Yep, but he's a really sweet dude. I've corresponded with him a couple times, just through DMs and stuff. But it's one of, I think for me, it's like if you want to know the pulse of the Hmong community, I'm be very honest, man. It's a Facebook page that you can go on.
We have a website too.
And a website. I mean, it's a whole
we definitely have the most followers on Facebook though.
Yeah, which is, you know, really weird is like when my parents are getting into Facebook and I'm just like, whoop, nope. Yeah, dude, I didn't let them follow me.
What?
Dude, because there's some stuff in college I need to take off first before they.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh
dude,
my
so
gosh!
weird.
I thought you would have scoured that.
Nah, man, the friend request is still there from my mom and dad.
When did you create a Facebook?
Me?
Yeah, mine is from like 2007. I'm like, you're sometimes I get like the old Sheng from 2009. I'm like, ooh, I don't know that one. I don't know her.
Right? Like, so I was the first batch right out of college that came out. Like Mark Zuckerberg.
The first batch?
Yeah, because it was literally, it was like you had to have an EDU email to do it. Yeah, because it was all college kids. Because remember, Zuckerberg and those guys were all college kids. So it was all for college kids back in the day, and we were like the first.
You are an OG from.
Oh yeah, dude. Like,
what about Asian Town and Asian Avenue?
Oh, I never touched that. It was too weird.
You didn't? I did those.
Oh,
you had to code your own website.
For shame.
For real.
For shame.
I have no shame in it.
I can't even look at you right now. It was all those. I did not know any of that.
And Zynga, that was the book.
Oh yeah, that's the one. I always thought that was like some Japanese anime like website. What was the other one? Well, I remember my first
MySpace. That was
no, that's too weird.
Oh my gosh.
But my buddy Tom from Iowa State, he was in Iowa State, and my buddy Tom Fisher III, he sent me an email and he goes, dude. He's like, dude, there's a new thing called Facebook. It was called the Facebook at that time.
Is that how he sounds like too?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. In my head, we're all broy. It's like, dude, this is new site. It's called the Facebook. It's like a really cool thing where like we can like message each other back and forth, and then you create like a profile. And like I remember he sent it to me, and I looked at the Facebook. Yeah, I looked at the Facebook at that time, and I looked at it. And I'm like, this thing's never gonna catch on. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
And then Facebook became Facebook. Yep. But anyways, back to what we were saying. The Hmong American Experience. Facebook.
Just went down so many rabbit holes here.
It's a really great place that I do like going on just to kind of see the pulse, keep the pulse of the culture, what's going on, some of the stuff that we're keeping relevant, and you manage it.
I'm one of the editors, but I'm a newer person, so I can't take really any credit, honestly, for the structure and the foundation of how it came to be. Like, I'm very new at it, and so like basically we just really focus on news stories that are worth sharing, and then like again, you know, I guess there isn't an editor in Wisconsin, so I really do try to look at Wisconsin and like what's happening there. And a lot of it is going to be like social justice or nonprofit organizations, the work that they're doing. And then of course, like you said, Pang Cha, man, being able to meet her, she is like just as glorious in person as she is really.
How tall is she?
She's quite tall. I mean, I have a picture.
I know she's on heels and stuff like that. That's Miss Universe.
Yeah, maybe could be heels too. I mean, she's just like a genuine, like real deal, eloquent, like means everything she says. Like it's really from the heart. And so like people like her, and then people like you, and like Suni, like just people that are really influential. And that's what I try to do with my own personal page too. Is I don't do any Gossip, yes,
Yeah,
Gia.
Yep.
Yep.
So-
I've not had the pleasure of meeting her,
She's
but I
sweet.
definitely follow her.
Yeah.
I met Chinu. I was like, ooh, I
Yeah.
got to meet Chinu. Like, yeah. So just like really important people that are very like historical, political figure or public figures. You know,
Yeah, there's political figures on there too. And
yes,
yeah.
political figures as well.
So, yeah.
But
So it's kind of almost like anything that's going on in the nation or in the world, actually.
yeah,
Like with Hmong people, and it goes on there, and it's really cool. I love going on there just to kind of, for me, it's just to kind of see what else is going on.
So when you say trolls, let's go back to that.
Oh yeah, trolls.
What did trolls say about you?
Oh, everything. Like, this guy isn't authentic. He's fake. I remember the one that got me a little bit was like when it's like, oh yeah, he's bastardizing our food so that he can make money and make a name for himself. And I'm like, dude, if I wanted to make money, I would not go into restaurants. Like, that's not, or, you know, a lot of times like we'll go on, you know, TV shows and stuff like that, and it'll be like, oh, hey, like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. This guy knows what. One of the things that were like got me really, and it changed my whole perspective. And this was a few years ago. We posted this kind of picture of like this rooster, this, you know, old hen rooster, or this, it was an old hen or a rooster, and we had the Hmong herbs with it, and it was a really cool shot. It was like, you know, and it was like, you know, it's like the chicken all, you know, plucked off, but it's the whole chicken, and it had the Hmong herbs, and I wrote a story about how, you know, Hmong chicken and herbs, and the story behind it, right, and how when you know, women after labor, you know, after post labor, this is what they eat for a month, and you know,
30-day chicken diet.
Yep. And I talked about how, you know, my sister-in-laws and my sisters, you know, they went through this process, and you know, and my mom went through this process, obviously, and that's from my perspective and what I know, right?
Right.
So I don't ever dare say, well, this is how it is for all Hmong people, right? But I was like, this is, you know, kind of what I know, and
that's your experience.
Yep.
To
And
it,
then there were, you know, sometimes this is the part that hurts a little bit, where there were a lot of, you know, like, you know, some Mika people, white people that were very like, wow, like, thank you so much. Like, I didn't know this, or well, this really helped me. This really helped educate me, or I didn't know, you know, but then like the Hmong people came out, and they were just angry. Some of them were angry. They're like, oh, like, no, you can't even, like, that's not the right herbs, you know, stuff like that. And one of them was just like, there was a woman who was like very mad. And it's like, I can't believe you just say that all Hmong people do this, and like, you know, when I had my kids, like, I didn't do this diet, so does that make me less Hmong? I'm like, I never said that.
Yeah. And like, we go back to the communications piece that you said earlier. Like, what is your intent?
Yeah.
Your intent was what when you wrote this, or, you know, I think that matters. And then obviously the interpretation matters, and the impact matters. So but we're looking at people who also were positively inspired by that. Like, they obviously got to learn a little bit more about our culture. But I would even say, as like a Hmong person, like, if I was to come across something like that, I would deeply like appreciate that, you know. And so like, I feel like you will always get criticized for whatever, and you will never please anyone, or like, you will never please everyone. You'll please some people, but you won't be able to please everyone, right? So
so what I did, and what that lesson taught me, is that, and I was like, for like a couple of days, I felt really bad. Like, I'm like, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
But then I think what changed, this is a while ago, and then I learned this is a really quick thing I learned, is my focus is trying to be like, I want to do this for the Hmong people. Yeah. And I stopped doing that way. I changed my focus to like, what is the most important thing to me? Like, what is true to me? What's the most important thing to me? And this is where I think that, you know, Hill Tribe, our company, this is where it started developing. Yeah. What was true to me was, and what was important to me, and what I knew what I held to be true was mom and dad and their legacy. You know that in our culture, when we talk about legacy, it's about this idea that when you die and you're gone, like physically gone, your stories of you will live on through your kids and through their kids and through their kids. Like, even till today, like when dad talks about his dad, who's my grandpa that I never met, who died in the war. Like, when he talks about him to all the to all the OGs, to all the elder men, they talk about his dad too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
His
like,
spirit lives on. Yeah.
So, and to me, I'm like, that's more important to me than going, oh, hey, like, you're doing this for your like, yeah, I am doing it for my people.
Yeah.
But I start with, when I say my people, I start with mom and dad.
Yeah. Your circle of people.
Yeah. So it to me, instead of being wide, this whole wide thing, because everyone's got their own opinion, everyone's got their own experience in the Hmong story, right? Mm-hmm. It really came down to them. Mm-hmm. And when because I'm the one that will stand in front of them and we will talk, and they will say, yep, that is true to us. That is true to us. That's true to our family. And all the other stuff, noise.
Exactly.
And I don't care. So I always get asked that question. It's like, how does it feel to represent the Hmong people? I'm like, I'm not here to represent the Hmong people.
Do you think that's a lot of pressure when people say that to you?
When not at all. I was just asked that the other day. This food writer just asked me that the other day, and I said, no, like, I'm not here to represent the Hmong people.
Yeah.
You know, Nyalo Tepa, like those two. I'm their son. I am a reflection of them.
Yeah.
These people I don't know out here? No.
Yeah.
But you know what? They're Hmong. And I'm a Hmong kid. And I represent them.
Wait, you're Hmong?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So do you know what I'm saying? So
I do.
It gets really easy for me. Like it's very simple for me.
Yeah.
And then when I hear you talk, I'm just saying, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, you are your mother. You are the reflection of her. You are the echo of her. You know, who she is reflected through you.
Yeah.
You know, and so.
Yeah. And I also think like whatever it is that you're providing, whether it's food or a service, it should always still be who you are. Like you can't do it for other people because you'll never be able to get anywhere because people will judge you and criticize you anyway. So if you are genuinely like happy with what you're providing and knowing also that you're still growing and going through a phase of change, right? Or seasons of change, that like being able to be humble and knowing that you don't know everything, but you're always continuously staying centered and true to yourself as you're navigating through your business or life or relationships or whatever that looks like. And that's what I do. You know, I think that that's what everyone should be doing. So, so yeah.
So you, and I mean, just kind of knowing you and like cause I know all the background about you because we're friends.
Oh, do you
also.
now? What secrets do you have of me?
I texted your brother earlier. No. You have a background in social work, right? So
yeah, I'm currently a social worker right now.
Okay.
But my background is in psychology and like positive psychology specifically, which is all about like optimal functioning, happiness and well-being and meaning of life.
It's so interesting because like the way I run my life is like the
gratitude.
opposite. Yeah, mine's the opposite of that.
What do you mean?
Well, because it's just like I have
negative psychology.
I don't know if you call it negative psychology, but I always have this thing where it's just like, So if you this is so dorky, but like if you watch Michael Jordan, they did this 30 for 30 documentary thing on with Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and Michael Jordan thought so like he would in his head play these situations that he'd go and play these games with these guys, against these other guys, and Jordan would always be like, "Yep, that dude hates me. That dude hates me," or he's trying to show me up, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to beat him.
Yeah.
But even though it wasn't true, and then the media would pick up on it.
Yeah.
And then it would be like this beef that they would have, or like the media would think that there's just beef, right? But it wasn't really happening. But Jordan would play in his head so that it got him in the game. So then when
that's sports psychology.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like I totally do that.
Yeah, like, you do that?
I love it. Yeah, it sounds so bad, but I love it. Like every day, like I wake up in the morning, like I don't have a switch.
Sheng hates me.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to go destroy her. And then, no. But like when I wake up in the morning, like I don't have a light to flick on because I have a little remote. And I hit it on and I hit the
bougie.
I'm not bougie. That's just how the room is set up.
You have a remote to turn on the light?
Yeah, it's just how it's set up. It's not me, It's just how the room was set up.
This is what happens when you become an influential person. You get like a remote that turns on. Like, I don't have that.
It's the same thing as a light switch. Or this one's just on a little block. But when I hit it, I always hit it on the, like, because you have like 3 modes of light, in the morning. So I always hit it on the highest one. So it shines like straight into my face. And just kind of like, okay, like, let's go. Like, okay, you like SOB, let's get up and let's do this,
You're motivated by like self-degradation.
In a way, yeah, because like that's like it comes from, it's weird, but like for me, it comes from this like
it awakens that beast mode.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, it is, because it's just like I want to be intentional with my days, you know.
I
And
maximize my days to the nth degree.
Yeah, and that's why my problem is I take on too many meetings during the day. So I'm like on my third or fourth one at the end of the day. I'm like, okay, suck it up.
That's why I'm grateful that we're sharing this space right now, because I literally look at like, you're busy, you're out here. There's always something else that you're involved in, some project, a new show. Every time I'm in town, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come by. You're like, no, I'm flying to Houston, or no, I'm like, because you're all over the place, and I love that about you, because you're really like living your very best life.
Maybe I'm just running from something. Okay,
you're not running. This is some deep counseling session.
Maybe, Sheng, I'm actually just running from something.
You're not running towards something. You're running away from people.
Maybe I'm just not complete.
You're running from yourself.
No, I
like, but I appreciate that about you, because I'm the same way.
Yeah, I like to keep
I can't
busy.
say no, because I do say no. People always tell me that. Sometimes I get a little bit offended, like low key, when people are like, you're doing too much. Like, you need to just relax. And I'm like,
I don't know how to
stop.
Know how to do that.
Like I literally know how to take care of myself. Am I tired sometimes? Absolutely. Yeah. But am I maximizing my day? Am I doing 5 birds with one stone? Yes, because that's how I want 5 birds with one stone. Like, if I go somewhere.
I thought you said, am I doing 5 rolls of Flintstone? I'm like, what? What kind of weird drug is that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is actually what I said.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, edit that.
Yeah, no. But yeah, like that's really like, again, maybe that's not super healthy for other people. But for me, I really genuinely love that life where I know that every day this week I'm doing something good for my community, or like getting involved in a different way, or doing something creative that just makes me like lights my soul on fire,
I think that it was from growing up in the food world, where like I worked with a lot of people who went to culinary school, or they like the word stage means like they worked or they interned with like big chefs, and like, oh, I staged here, or I went to this place in France, I went to this place in Italy, and I did this and I did this, so sometimes like I've worked with a lot of these kids growing up, in the industry, and I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't do anything. I was just like started as a dishwasher, moved up, right, and just did my thing. So I always had this chip on my shoulder of like, I'll work you. I don't care who you worked under or what you did. Like, I will outwork you every day. Like, I will be here if I have to be here 5 minutes early just so that I can get to my station before you, and I'll outwork you. And so like that was just like that mentality I had, where I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to outwork you, and then you're going to have to pry me off the line. Yeah. And so I was I was just always so, I think that became this thing where it's like this chip on my shoulder, but then it just became so much a part of what I do. Yeah. Where I get that from my dad. My dad will outwork anybody. Yeah. Like, he's like 70. Yeah. And he can still like destroy me. When we go out on the or we're out in the field, he can destroy me. He's like nonstop. Like, his cardio is just boom, go, go, go. Yeah. He doesn't stop. Like, the same thing with my mom. My mom's like barely 5 feet tall. My mom and my 2 aunts during the state fair, they cooked 1,000 pounds of sticky rice every day for 12 days straight.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and 12 hours a day nonstop.
Wow, yeah.
Like, we dropped them off at the commissary kitchen, and then I would come back at 8 o'clock to pick them up. Yeah. And they wouldn't stop. And my mom's like, yeah. And it came to the point where one of my aunts just would not stop for even to eat lunch. And my mom had to pull her away and say, no, we eat it. They would just constantly go and go and go. It's just like they go to the next level, boom, next level. And it was just one of these things that I think that after a while, it just becomes a part of you, but you don't realize it, because in my 20s, I wasn't like that. You wouldn't have it
any other way, right?
Yeah,
like, you couldn't like, I feel like you're not really honoring yourself if you're like diluting like the work that you're doing or the quality. So I respect that.
Let me ask you something. How do you feel then when people go, well, Sheng, what's your balance? How do you balance this out? How do you restore and rejuvenate yourself?
And that's the thing is I actually meditate every single night, first of all. I meditate every single night.
Too, and then I close my eyes, and then suddenly it's morning.
I do. But it's
called sleeping.
I actually do that right before I sleep. I meditate, and then I feel good about my day. But yeah, like, balance is the key thing here, right? Like, yes, I'm maximizing my days. I'm doing quite a lot. And again, I prefer, and I really I love that life. every day is a war zone and a play zone for me. It genuinely is. But the balance is like, you know, I am very intentional about like if I'm gonna hang out with a friend or be with my babies. When I say my babies, they are my nieces and nephews. I'm present with them, right? Like when I'm with my mom and dad, I video chat my mom like every day. Like I'm present, you know. Even if I'm eating.
Your mom and dad, they're still in Wausau, or
yeah, they live in Wausau.
Okay.
They live in Wausau. I live in Eau Claire with a couple of my other siblings, but yeah, like I absolutely build in time. Like I always check in. I'm the person that checks in on everyone because I love, like, I want to stay connected. Like my entire life is about connecting with people and connecting them to one another, like networking and community building. Like that's huge for me. And that's the same way that I function in my family. Like I'm always the one that says, you guys, like to my siblings, like let's, my siblings also here, by the way, my brother, but I'll say like, let's like meet once a month and let's just do a check-in. Like what's everybody doing? Like, how are you all feeling? This is true therapy right now. But
if I said that to my siblings, we all like laugh at each other. It's like, I'll see you guys later.
I know. But I'm like that emotional, like I love like connectedness.
Do you guys check in
with
once a month?
people. We're working on it because it's only me showing up for these, right? No.
You're like on Zoom by yourself and you're like, hello, why is nobody checking?
No. This is a newer thing I'm trying to do. But what I do is I talk to my sister Kaoli. She's in Korea, and I talked to her yesterday for 2 hours, just like, how is life, right? Like that is who I am, and I love being that person. And so yeah, I think like that's kind of my role in the family. I'm like the one who likes to put everybody together and like, you know,
do you have the family newsletter? Do you write out a family newsletter?
I should. You're giving me some ideas right now.
Family newsletter goes, anyways.
As if I don't have enough on my plate.
Yeah, like anyways, so this is what's happening.
Highlight of the day.
Yeah. This is the niece or nephew of the week. Yeah, like you've been featured.
I have 52 of them, so I'll have like a lot of content there. But
yeah, definitely.
Like, who are you in the family? Like, how would you describe yourself?
I don't know. According
how do
to
you feel about this?
According to my nephew Lukey, he goes, I'm his favorite uncle. Luke goes, I'm your favorite. He's my favorite. Well,
it's a big title.
Yeah. Well, he told his dad, my brother Peter, he said, well, Uncle Yi is my favorite. And he goes, well, why? He goes, because he's on TV. I think that's the only thing he cares about.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's so funny too. Sometimes he'll come up to me and like he'll give me a hug, and then he'll like look at my face and goes, hey, Uncle Yi. And he gets like kind of like when he talks, he like gets real excited, so he talks real fast. So he's like, he stutters, and he's like, hey, Uncle Yi, next time when you go to Netflix, can you take me? And I'm like,
oh, that's so cute.
I'm like, I don't think that's how it works, bro. But yeah, I will if I go to if I go to Netflix next time. I don't know what that means.
How old is he?
It's like 5. So so he's
cutest age.
I know, but then he's gonna realize like you're really not that cool. But my other nieces and nephew they also think too, like they'll call their friends like, we're famous because we were on this TV show with my uncle.
That's so cute.
I'm like, you guys aren't. You were there for half a second. It was a picture. You calm down. And so
you just destroyed that kid's dream.
I did. I was like, don't. This is all fake.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is I've always felt like kind of the outsider with my family because you know they all got married, had kids and everything. I always felt like the outsider. But
you're like the black sheep?
I don't want to say black sheep, but an outsider a little bit. Okay. But I also think too, where it's like one of the things I love about our families and all the kids is that we are all really high level in our area that we work in or our career or whatever, you know, and I don't mean that as a cocky thing.
No.
I'm just
that is pride and confidence.
Well, it's me taking a step back and go, oh crap. Like I look at all of us and I'm like, wow, like, you know, I'm looking at my brothers and my sisters like, well, you guys like they're like leading the charge in their industries that they're a part of, you know. And that's a testament to my parents, man. Like they raised kids who, you know, didn't know how to give up. You know, like giving up is not an option. You know, like my dad has this thing where it's like, you know how like, you know, growing up, going to like Mika schools and stuff like that, and you're like, well, I need space. Like Hmong families, man, especially our family, there's no such thing as boundaries. There's no such thing as space. Like you can't go to your room and be like, I need space from you, mom or dad. Like, no, this is my house. And your mom and dad's like, this is my house. That's my space. And you're just living in it, you know? And so dad had this thing where he would, when he loved us, his love would come after us. It sounds weird, but that's what it is. And my mom had this ferocious, unconditional love for us. You know, like no matter what you do, you're still my kid.
Yeah.
No matter how old you are. My mom always says, no matter how old you are, how many kids you have,
you're gonna be her baby.
You're like, she's always says, you're still my son. You're still my daughter. You're still my kid.
Yeah.
And I think that formed me, you know? I mean, you know, and I think that we keep talking about that. And I think that that's something like I really want to talk to like those like Gen Z Hmong kids, you know, about. Yeah. Where I'm like, you guys have to understand that preciousness, you know, that and I feel so old. Like I feel like this older brother saying this, but it's like they love you. You have to read between the lines of what they're saying sometimes because it sounds like, oh, they're just lecturing me, they're yelling at me, but they really love you.
Yeah, they do.
And for even like the millennial kids, you know, it's like our parents didn't have much, but they took whatever they had and they gave that to us. They like, you know, they gave it to us. They became less so we can become more. And I often like think about that a lot. I think about like the humility, the humbleness for them to step back.
This is gratitude, positive psychology, by the way.
Yeah, but then I'm like, let's go. Peace out, let's go, son. No, but yeah, and I think about that a lot, you know, and that's my drive. I mean, people ask like, what's your why? And I'm like, that's my why, dude. Like, yeah, never like.
So, but like you were an outsider of your family?
Yeah, I still feel like an outsider sometimes. Okay. I'm always like during the holidays, I'm the weird uncle who just like comes over and just like hangs out with them. I'm
definitely the favorite aunt, I will say. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're like unanimous. Fun aunt though.
I'm the fun, like very present with my kids, play with them. Like I'm nonstop. Like everyone always says, like, are you like tired? I'm like, no, I'm living my best life. I love my kids. I love hanging out with them and playing with them.
But you're an extrovert, right?
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert.
You are.
Oh, I hate people. I hate people. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't say that. But
introverts hate people. I didn't know that. I would have thought you were an extrovert.
I have to be an extrovert for my job. But I rejuvenate when I look at extrovert and introvert. I think about that. Yeah. I rejuvenate by being by myself.
Yeah. Balance.
I guess, but whatever. like for example, like I always get asked, well, how do you with all the things you're doing, how do you like rejuvenate? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, to be completely honest, my parents live like half an hour away. They live out in the burbs. They live half an hour away, and usually, like once every week or every 2 weeks, my mom will call and be like, hey, your dad really. Because there's a place where I go, there's a fishmonger I use where we get whole fish and we get like crab and lobster and all that stuff. And my dad loves eating that stuff. He goes, oh, your dad's like really kind of hankering for some seafood. And then I'll have like an afternoon off where I have like a 2-hour slot or maybe an hour off. I would go grab like lobster, fish, like whole fish, whatever, like Alaskan crab. And I'll drive it out to their house and literally just drop it off. Sometimes when parents are like napping or whatever, I'll just drop it off and be like, hey mom, I'm just dropping this off, and then I'll leave. And it's like half hour there, half hour back in that hour.
So that's like your rejuvenation?
It is. Like just being in the car, driving, knowing like it's like this reversal for me, right? When we were kids growing up, we're like, mom, like in gym class, I have to have these kinds of shoes, and like, your parents would save all this money to get you like the right sneaker or whatever, and then you go to Kmart or something like that. Remember Kmart? You had to go to Kmart, and then you get it and you come back.
I worked at Kmart.
I know.
So 3 months.
Yeah, you did all these things. Yeah. Like your parents would do all these things. Yeah. They move heaven and earth to get you what you want. And I see this reversal now where they're like, dad would call me or my mom would call and say, hey, your dad's like hankering for some seafood. He's been just asking, wondering. Yeah. And that's also mom's way of saying like, we miss you.
Yeah.
And so I love doing that, like once every week or 2 weeks maybe, So
I love the relationship that you have with your parents, like.
But that took work though.
Of course, I love my relationship with my parents too.
I wasn't like that at all in college.
We weren't like that. Yeah.
I think that as you get older, like as a Hmong kid, do you realize that?
Appreciate it so much.
Why? Why do you think that happens as you get older?
Like I always had this like like I struggled a lot because growing up, like in my family, I was always the loud one. I like wanted to do my own thing. I was like very extroverted, want to hang out with friends all the time. And I had a lot of conflict with my mom and my dad because I wasn't that traditional Hmong girl, right? Like I was very out there. I still kind of am. Now they embrace me. Now they love me. They appreciate, they respect me. And that's my biggest thing is like, I like love that you love me, but I want you to respect me. And they have that now. But I think like when I was younger, it was always like being put in like a box, you know, like you're a girl, you shouldn't do that, or you know, you're Hmong, like this is kind of what we do, or whatever it was. And like I think now growing up, I realize like they did that because that's how they showed love. Like that's really like them trying to provide me with the very best. And I just learned to appreciate that more. And like throughout my adulthood and young adulthood, like we just really rebuilt what that relationship looks like. And we are so close. Like my family, like we're all so completely different, but we're incredibly close. Like we're always together. Like again, my brother's here, you know, we're always together and we're always video chatting or like talking or getting like we're connecting over food or whatever that looks like. And it took time. Like we weren't like that when we were younger. Like, you know, my parents were in survival mode. Like we're trying to just figure things out and our own identities. But now I feel like we're all like we're grown, we have our own pathways, but yet we really, really value family and love and togetherness. And then they don't show up to my monthly Zoom meetings, but they do love me. You know. So
I can see you like you're like the only window, like it's like the window that's only open is like you and the other ones are all offline. And you have a little candle goes, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh my gosh. Maybe you'll join me in those Zoom meetings. I don't know.
I'll see you there. Yeah, send it over to my schedule.
Being rejected over and over again. Take my love. Let me love you.
Shane, one of the many things, but one of the things I really, really, I think connect with you and I really enjoy with you is you take this path, you know, it's still the path. It's still the path of like, you know, this kind of third culture Hmong kid, right? But you take the path that some people might see as quote unquote on non-traditional, right? If you can call it whatever you want, but it's still the path. But I think you are the perfect example of what Hmonglish is about. Like when you think of Hmonglish, we always say it's the conversions of two cultures. It's the Hmong culture, it's the Mika culture. It comes and converge and makes this third culture. And I think your life resembles that, you know, where you're saying, I'm as much Hmong as I am American. I come from a Hmong household and I grew up in an American world. And I feel like, you know, the more I get to know you and the more like longer we've been friends and stuff, I see you going, okay, but those two worlds can live together. It's not a either or. Because growing up, we always had to deal with either or, right? You either you
need to do more of this or be more of
like
that.
It's the, are you going to be Hmong or are you going to be American? Which one are you? Like, you know, I remember my parents would say that to me, you know? Like, like if you want to go do it that way, then you're American. If you want to do it this way, you're Hmong. And we always had the either or. I think you are the perfect, you know,
well, thank you.
You know, collision
have my
of
jokes
that.
Gotten better though?
No.
Am I funnier?
No, your jokes are still like a dorky Hmong dad. But anyways, that's the Hmong side of you. No, but do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's why like I feel like I really want to give I want your voice on here because it's like I want people listening, especially younger people listening, going, wait, but I feel as much American as I do Hmong, and it's like yes, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that's like for us growing up, it was like, do you want to eat American food or you want to eat Hmong food? And I'm always like, yes, you know, like both. Like, why can't we have the best of both worlds?
Yeah.
You know.
Sidebar, can I ask you a quick question about that? Yeah. What is your favorite like Mika food that you've made Hmong? Like, okay, so for instance, I love like KFC with gotza and manjude. You know, like, you know, like you could like, or brats or something like that. Like, do you have one?
Not really. I mean, like, I just consider, I do this thing where it's just like rice, scrambled eggs, breakfast sausages, you know. Like
but you need pepper though, right?
Yeah. And then you throw in a little gotza in there.
Yeah.
That's like the closest to like a Hmong breakfast, quote unquote Hmong breakfast.
Yeah, it's a bomb
you know,
breakfast.
Or sometimes, I don't know, like I'll eat a lot of like I'll eat like Italian pastas with chopsticks, you know, and stuff like that. You know, it's just like I don't know, because I like chopsticks and I like to eat it with chopsticks. Yeah. But but I'd say I don't know. Like I really haven't thought about that.
That was just a random. I just love random questions.
I know you do.
It's always a peek inside people's brains. I just love brains. Yeah. Zombie mode. But anyway, thank you so much for saying all that stuff.
No, and I think that
I don't know how to take compliments. Like, what do I do with my hands?
Like,
what do I do with my
positive
hands?
psychology. I don't know. I'm creeping away. It's like that. What is that Homer meme where he like walks back behind into the bushes? You're like,
oh, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Diving deeper into your life, into the things that you're doing. You're doing amazing things. I think you're doing the things that are so foundational to the next generation of Hmong kids that are going to come in. And I always think that that's the true essence of being Hmong, is setting up a platform so the next generation can build on it.
Well,
and you're doing that. And to me, I'm like, that is so Hmong. It's not even funny,
And yeah, here we laugh.
Yeah, here we laugh.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot, Sheng.